Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a kind-hearted girl named Cinderella. She was known for her gentle nature and the way she cared for all the animals in the village. Cinderella had a lovely smile that could brighten even the gloomiest day, and her laughter was like a song that warmed the hearts of everyone who heard it. However, Cinderella's life was not as cheerful as her demeanor. After her mother passed away, her father married a woman named Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine had two daughters of her own, Anastasia and Drizella. While Cinderella hoped for a loving family, her stepmother and stepsisters were unkind to her, treating her more like a servant than a family member. Cinderella's days were filled with chores and endless cleaning. She cooked and cleaned for her stepsisters, and she spent her evenings mending their dresses and listening to their complaints. Yet, no matter how hard she worked, her stepmother and stepsisters were never satisfied. One day, a royal messenger arrived in the village. He delivered a royal proclamation inviting every maiden to the grand royal ball at the palace. The prince was searching for a bride. Cinderella's stepsisters were thrilled and immediately began preparing for the ball. They spent days selecting the most beautiful gowns and practicing their dances. Cinderella watched with a heavy heart, longing to attend the ball. She knew she could never ask her stepmother for such a favor, for Lady Tremaine would surely forbid it. As the day of the ball approached, Cinderella's tears fell silently onto the floor, and her heart ached with the desire to go. On the evening of the royal ball, Cinderella's stepsisters, dressed in their finest gowns, left for the palace. Cinderella gazed at them with a mixture of sadness and longing. As the clock struck midnight, her stepsister's laughter faded into the distance. Cinderella wept in the quiet house, feeling utterly alone. But then a soft, melodious voice filled the room. Cinderella turned to see her fairy godmother, a beautiful woman with a kind smile. "Don't cry, dear Cinderella," the fairy godmother said. "I am here to help you attend the ball." With a wave of her wand, she transformed Cinderella's ragged clothes into a magnificent gown and her worn shoes into sparkling glass slippers. Cinderella was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. However, her fairy godmother's magic came with a warning. She must leave the ball before midnight, for the enchantment would only last until then. Cinderella arrived at the palace in her magical attire, turning every head in the room. The prince himself was captivated by her grace and beauty. They danced together, and for a brief moment, all of Cinderella's worries melted away. But as the clock neared midnight, Cinderella remembered her fairy godmother's warning. She fled from the palace, leaving behind one of her glass slippers. The prince tried to follow, but she vanished into the night. The next day, the prince visited Cinderella's village, determined to find the owner of the glass slipper. He tried the slipper on every maiden, but it only fit Cinderella's foot. With joy in his heart, the prince knew he had found his true love. Cinderella and the prince were married in a grand royal ceremony, and Cinderella's stepsisters were overcome with astonishment and regret. They realized their unkindness and asked for forgiveness. Cinderella, always kind-hearted, forgave them, and they all became a loving family. Cinderella's story spread far and wide, teaching everyone the power of kindness, courage, and the belief in dreams. And every night, Cinderella would tell her own children the story of her magical night at the ball and how love had turned her life into a beautiful fairy tale. As Cinderella's story ended, her own children drifted into peaceful sleep, their dreams filled with love, magic, and the belief that goodness could always overcome hardship.